In this video, I want to share with you 5 keys to cultivating your calling to success. Now, let me make it very clear. Everybody's not called, but if you are called to success, what that really means is you're called to be put in a certain financial, economic, resourceful position to make an impact in the lives of the people you're called to. Everybody doesn't want it. Everybody's not called to it. But if you're called to that level of success, then these are keys that you can use to cultivate that calling for success. And here's what's even better about being called to success. You didn't call you. You didn't call you. If you're called to success, God called you to success. You didn't call you to success, which, by the way, what I'm saying right now is for the people I'm called to. I'm not called to everybody. If you don't have a faith-based foundation, if you're not seeking a faith-based foundation for the success that you dream about and want to have in your life, then what I'm saying will probably mean nothing to you. But if you believe God is calling you to success, and if he's calling you to success and there needs to be a faith-based foundation for your success, then what I'm saying is going to resonate with you. So with that being said, let's get to these 5 keys to cultivating your calling to success. Number 1, you gotta know. And I really want you to either screenshot this or take notes. You gotta know. You gotta know. Knowing is really biblical. Because knowing is not natural. Knowing is a spiritual knowledge or a spiritual revelation that you receive from God. In the church, we use the cliche, you know that you know that you know that you know. You know who God is. You know how he operates in your life. So your calling is really a knowing. So you got to know your call. You got to know who you're called to, because you ain't called to everybody. Sometimes we think we're just called to the whole world. You ain't called to the whole world. There's some people you ain't called to. There's a demographic of people that God has called you to. Of course, you may have a Christian role to be available and to share what you have in your faith with others, but your calling is directly connected to the who that you're called to. So knowing your calling is about knowing who you're called to, knowing what you're called to. For me, I know I was called as a prophet to preach, to encourage, to inspire, to exhort, to do what the Bible talks about people who are prophets do. Now, of course, there is some correction with being a prophet. There's some judgment with being a prophet, but there's also an overwhelming majority of edification, exhortation, comfort, inspiration, motivation to encourage and to really ignite God's people to get to their prophesied place. So you got to know who you're called to, what you're called to. You got to know where you're called to. There are some places Jesus didn't even want to go because he knew he was not called there. You got to know why. You need that reason. That's what's going to drive you and give you the passion to continue to execute your assignment when it comes to that calling. And you got to know how you're called, because there are some vehicles you just ain't using. Do you notice in the New Testament of the Bible, when you read about the calling and the life of Jesus Christ, he didn't ride horses. He didn't ride animals. He wasn't in chariots. He literally walked because he knew how to execute his assignment. He knew why, he knew where, he knew what, and he knew who. So number 1, you got to know that you know your calling. Number 2, you got to answer. Now you're like, well, if you know, why don't you answer? Well, you know somebody's calling your phone. Do you always answer? Nope. You get accept, green. You get decline, red, that show up on your phone or show up on the screen in your car. And you choose to either accept and answer the call, or you choose to reject and decline the call. Well, it's just like that with the call of God. If you do not accept and answer the call, guess what? It's still a call. You might know it's a call, but you never accept it. As a matter of fact, let me give you a little example. You could be working on a job and God has called you to success, but he called you to success through a vehicle of a business, or through the vehicle of an idea or an invention, or through the vehicle of some entrepreneurial investment endeavor, and you refuse to answer the call because it doesn't accommodate you. You don't have the savings yet, and your credit score is not where it needs to be. Okay, don't question the call, question your answer. You're just not answering the call. So answering the call is about your commitment. It is about your consistency. So that's one of the reasons why for almost 30 years I've been a Christian. I've been committed, and I say that with pride, but also with humility. I'm grateful and thankful that he molded my heart to be that way. But I'm committed to my calling to be a Christian. For over 22 years, my wife and I, we've been married and called the entire time of our marriage to full-time ministry and full-time entrepreneurship. And guess what? We answered the call. We're committed. We're consistent every step of the way. Now, has it been easy for the last 22 years to be committed and consistent to ministry and to entrepreneurship when we don't have resources, when we don't have the right connections, when we don't have the background and the pedigree, and we didn't have a kickstart? We didn't have some support system to finance this calling. But guess what? God makes provision for the vision. He called us. That means he's equipped us, and he's given us the internal fortitude to fight the good fight of faith and to do what he has called us to do. So you got to answer the call. Number 3, you got to protect the calling. You got to protect the calling. You can't put that responsibility on other people in other places that are doing other things. No, protecting your calling to success means you are operating with integrity. You have certain values, standards, and principles that you live by based on your calling. As I said, I'm a prophet. I pastor a church. My wife and I are leaders of a congregation, of a spiritual tribe, and a faith community. So guess what? There are certain things we do as entrepreneurs, as investors in this world of small business ownership that other people don't necessarily have to do. Why? Because they're not protecting certain levels of integrity. They don't have certain values, standards, and principles. But for me, as a man of God who is a minister, not just behind the pulpit, but a minister in the marketplace, there are just certain moves I'm not going to make. And I'm not going to try to be like my competitors and act like I'm competing against other internet gurus and people who have courses and who coach and consult and do very similar things as me. No, because first of all, they're not me. And most importantly, even beyond that, they're not called to what I'm called to, because my calling to success is not about the money. It's not about the recognition. It's not about the popularity. Those are byproducts of my calling to success, because my calling to success is why I do what I do. Does that make sense? So you have a responsibility to, number 3, protect. That's the third key to cultivating your calling to success. Number 4, prove it. Stop talking about that you call. Stop trying to convince yourself that you call. Prove it with growth. And again, you can come up with your own version of success. I'm talking about having money, having resources, and having the ability to make an impact in the lives of other people. Now, can you make that impact spiritually without having money economically? Of course you can, but that's not the type of success I'm talking about. I'm talking about spiritual, social, and economic impact in the lives of people who need more than just your prayer, more than just your church service, more than just your flyer to a revival, more than just your words of encouragement. They need the spiritual, the social, and the economic resources. It might not be handouts with money, but it could be opportunities for them to thrive and grow and move into their success because you're facilitating that by proving it actually exists. So it means growth. It means progress. It means results. It means being an example. It's not about you flaunting and flexing and flossing in cars or wearing designer clothes or showing off on social media. Some of that is just a part of marketing, but it ain't what it is, because you know behind that there is a greater example being set, because people need to see that there is something in your calling that is tied to success. Number 5, the 5th key to cultivating your calling is to share. You got to share it. You got to do what I'm doing. I'm always letting people know that God has called me not just to ministry, but he's called me to the marketplace. My entire online university, Ramon Preston University, we hail it and claim it to be the #1 platform, faith-based platform, biblical-based platform for ministry and marketplace training. Our signature program, which is the Millionaire Blueprint for education and the Millionaire Mentorship for coaching, these are faith-based, biblical-based business, financial, and investment tools and mechanisms that we use. Guess what? And we have to share it with the world so they can see that you could be anointed, you could be called, but you can also be successful and impactful with your anointing and calling, because you've been willing to allow God to bring them together and you're sharing it with the world. Sharing is about duplication. So if it ain't nobody around you experiencing the success but you, then is it really success? It's about community. It's about partnership. It's about giving people the opportunities that your calling to success has afforded to you. So I want you to take some time, deep dive into these 5 keys to cultivating your calling to success. And I want you to consider, I really want you to consider being a part of our faith-based, biblical-based community. You could click the link in the description. Ramon Preston University is the platform for ministry and marketplace training. But if you know that you need to be in a biblical-based, faith-based community to cultivate your calling to success for business, for finance, for investments, then we have that platform, that community, the resources, the education, the mentorship available for you. And we cry aloud from the mountaintop because we want our people to know that there is a place for you outside of the context of the world, outside of the context of you having to be in rooms and in communities with people who are doing things and saying things and living certain ways that don't match your integrity and your values. So I hope this video was an inspiration and an impact to you and educational for you. I look forward to hearing from you. Don't hesitate to reach out to my team and I. We make ourselves available as much as we possibly can. That means not just in business hours, after hours, on the weekends, because we want to help you get to your prophesied place and live life to the fullest. I love you. I'm praying for you, and I'll see you in the next video.